Hi everyone, it's Steph here from Chaos in the Craft Room. Thanks so much for joining. Today I'm just going to go through a few really quick and simple tips of how to make those challenging dies work without any hassle. So if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And I'm just going to go through a few tips today on hopefully something that can help save you time. So for this first example, this die, I really have trouble when I go through my die cutting machine and cut the image out. The image gets stuck into the actual die, and when I try and get it out, it rips and it just doesn't pop out properly. You don't want any dies that you completely avoid for that reason. So hopefully this tip will help you. So you can see here I'm actually popping out all the little bits with my little pointer tool, but you can get a brush as well to make this process a lot quicker and easier. But here I just can't get it to pop out, and I'm using the little holes that cause it to release, the die to release from the die, but it's just stuck in there. And so as I try and force its way out, it rips, and it's very frustrating. As I'm sure you've felt the experience before. And this is just not something I can use. You just cannot put this on a card. What a terrible snowflake. So what do we do to prevent this issue? It's really easy. All I do is I get some baking paper or whatever paper you use to prevent, your cookies and cakes from sticking in the kitchen. Same thing here. I know everyone in all different countries, you call it slightly differently, but here in Australia, we call it baking paper. It's a really smooth surface, and all I do is I put my paper down as per normal, put the baking paper in between, so on top of the paper, in between where I'm going to put my actual die down on top of it, and just cut it through, put it through the die cutting machine the exact same way. And you'll be amazed at how helpful this is. It's not just helpful for that one time when you put it through the die cutting machine. I also find because it creates like this silky smooth sort of layer onto the die from the baking paper, that it can actually help a couple of times, and you might not always need to, oh, look at that. You might not always need to put the baking paper in between, although some dies I do that for. It just depends how you find it helps you. And it just falls off. It's incredible. I love it. And sometimes that baking paper does get stuck into the actual die itself rather than the paper. And sometimes I'll just leave that in there because I can use that for next time again, or you can pop it back out. It's completely up to you. But look at that comparison. Huge difference. All right, so on to the next issue that I often have, and people often ask me how to prevent this sort of issue, and that's for really intricate dies. So you might have a few dies that it's got lots of little bits that it's cutting out, and often when you cut them out, you've got some of the little pieces just don't come out, and every time you go to flick them out, they're getting stuck in there, and you end up ripping your die. And that's really frustrating as well, because I just love these butterflies and have numerous other dies that are really intricate, but they're too much work to try and instead of avoiding them, there's a really simple solution. See here, as I'm just trying to push it out, some of them come out fine and others don't. They just get stuck. And if I was to pull any harder, it's just going to rip the die. So, and that's on both sides. So my simple solution here is to just get a metal plate. Now you can get them with all different brands and for all different machines to make sure that they fit your die cutting machine. And I line everything up on my die cutting machine in the exact same layering process. The only thing that I do different is I put down that metal sheet. The die itself then faces up, so it's cutting up rather than how I normally have it facing down, because you don't want it going down onto your metal sheet. And then you put your extra base plate on top. And if you find it's a little bit stiff, you can always adjust the layers to make it easier to get through the machine. It depends what machine you have. Do just have a look at the instructions specific for how to use the metal plate with your machine. And look at that. The pieces are just falling out. It's just so much easier. So once again, I don't have to prevent using that die. So I really hope you found these tips today really helpful. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And I can't wait to see you next time.